Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today it is just me. We are going to talk about a pretty popular topic in franchising. One we haven't discussed in a while, so we want to kind of hit up some highlights of what it means to be a semi-absentee owner. Is it for you? And how in the world do you find a franchise that's right for you in general, but even more specifically to semi-absentee? So that's what we're going to talk about today. First, a quick reminder of who we are. And FranCoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals like yourself interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with over 600 franchises in about 70 different industries, and we have two basic goals. Number one is to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if this is a path for you. Goal number two is we're going to help you then find your absolute best franchise to own. A little fun fact, it is rarely what people think it is going to be when they first start working with us. And one of the reasons that can be today is the semi-absentee owner. So a couple of things we want to talk about today regarding semi-absentee. What the heck does it mean? Which it can be very confusing. How do we know if it's right for you? What traits do you need? What things do you need to think about? How do we find the franchisor that is open to that? Not all of them are, and even when they do, there can be a lot of variances. And then kind of the long-term, I always want to talk about the long-term, the exit strategy, something we don't think often about. So first of all, what is semi-absentee ownership? At the most basic level, it's the fancy way in franchising that we say you are working part-time as an owner. The business is still running full-time, but your role is part-time. Why is it part-time? Well, most of the time because you have something else going on, most typically a job that you are keeping. Could be other business entities. It could be, again, long-term exit strategy for a business is maybe you've just dialed back to that and you're kind of semi-retired from that standpoint. But your role in the business is full or is not full-time, it is part-time. So why would somebody do this? Well, the job, number one, is there are times where people aren't in a financial position to leave their job to jump into a business full time. Perhaps they're the sole provider for the family. Maybe they just don't feel like they have enough financial cushion yet, even though you can look at funding options, but they don't feel like they have that financial cushion to leave the paycheck, no matter how much they may want to be able to jump into a business full time. That's probably the most common. The other is sometimes people are going into it with they want semi-absentee, they've got other things going on, and they're really looking at diversification. Like, do I want my cash just sitting here? Do I trust myself as a franchise owner for a better return than, a good old-fashioned 401k? There's a lot of reasons why that is a better plan. So some folks really look at it from a diversification perspective, right? So that's kind of the why. Now, when we talk about semi-absentee and franchising, we need to, number one, understand that it is the most poorly defined phrase in franchising. So that's really helpful. I know, right? So what that means is if we talk to 10 different franchisors, what does semi-absentee mean to you? You're probably going to get like 15 different answers. And I know that's bad math, but you're going to get some franchisors and well, it could be this, or it could be that, it could be this. Like, no kidding, it can be all of those things. So it makes that search, frankly, it's why we exist, is it makes that search even more complicated to understand. So it's incredibly poorly defined. Not every franchise is open to even having a semi-absentee owner, right? So, and these are things that are proprietary behind the scenes. So Google's not going to help you with any of this stuff, right? They just don't know. So it's very poorly defined. But before we talk about the franchisor, I want to talk about you. So if you're sitting there and like, man, I'd love to have a business, perhaps it's diversification. Great. Perhaps it is the more common is of, I just don't know if I can leave this job yet, but I know I want to eventually, or the other piece that we always kind of forget, maybe the job isn't going to want you anymore. So what does that's semi-absentee. What do you need to be good at? Well, you need to be good at leadership. and which probably in general with franchising, but certainly as a semi-absentee owner, because if you're not there running the day-to-day full time, somebody is. You're hiring a manager that is the person there running the day-to-day. So you need to be able to mostly manage and lead them. They're running the rest of the business. So if you are a micromanager, where you have to be involved in every tiny little minutia of everything that goes on and make every last decision on every last thing. First of all, stop yourself because nobody likes that. But second of all, is that's not going to be a good fit for this. You have to have the ability to kind of trust your ability to lead and that manager or managers that you're going to hire. So that's first. Then as we kind of outline your role, nothing is more important than your role as an owner. So if it's semi-absentee, we're going to talk about how much time can you spend per week on your business. Doesn't matter the answer, but we need to understand that. Now, spending time on the business does not mean that you are physically present at the location, right? If there is a location, it doesn't always have to be, but you have to be disciplined enough to say, hey, from 8 to 9 this morning, I am doing X, Y, and Z for my franchise. And that you actually do that from 8 to 9. You don't get distracted. You don't do laundry. You don't let your other thing, you're focused on that, right? Is that maybe you're sitting on the couch at night watching a little TV and you got your laptop there and you're going over maybe sales metrics. Maybe you're looking at the inventory. Maybe you're ordering something. Maybe you're answering a couple emails, right? But you're really able to commit however much time that is. If you say I can do 10 hours a week, great. If you say I can do 20 hours a week, great. But you have to, one, be able to commit to it and stick to it. The two things franchises look for every franchise, every industry. Number one, follow the plan. Number two, put forth your required effort. So if that's semi-absentee and you need to commit 15 hours a week and you only commit 5, don't bitch when your business is struggling because it's going to because you're not putting forth the required effort. Okay. So that we need to understand. Then it's the accessibility piece. So you have a manager that's running the day to day. You've got your time blocks of when you're going to do something. But all of a sudden at 10 o'clock in the morning, your manager calls you, right? There's probably a reason they called you and didn't email or text or Slack or send you a postcard or whatever. They picked up the phone and they called you. So if you have another job, you may not be able to answer at 10, maybe you can, but how quickly can you get back to them? Is it going to be 3 or 4 days and you'll get around to it? Or is it going to be like, hey, I got a meeting from 10 to 11, but I can get back to you at 11, right? What's that turnaround time? Doesn't matter what the answer is, but we need to have that honest information to be able to find the right, these all things that factor into finding the franchise. We had somebody last year was an airline pilot and looking at semi-absentee. And so that accessibility piece was unique. So I want to believe I fly all the time. I want to believe the pilots are not up there on their laptop, emailing their general manager about their franchise, or they're texting them or whatever. I'd like to believe that they're actually paying attention to flying the damn plane. So when he was doing that, he was very much not accessible to anybody for that business. Okay. So that factored into certain things from a support perspective for a franchise that we needed to look at. That's okay. So we need to understand what that accessibility is so we can set expectations with our manager. We find franchises that can have the support that we need. Okay. Franchises in general, the whole point, they have a proven plan, they have support in all facets. But a franchise is no different than we are as humans. There are certain things that we are good at. There are certain things that we're okay at. So we have to again understand where do you need the most support? Is that an area that the franchise, like, man, we support you everywhere, but we're really killer good at this. Does that align? So again, it's all about that, again, building out things for you for the role. So that's what you need to think about, kind of your traits and things that our team is going to help you with as understanding your role, the time. Also, is there anything in there that you want to be able to do? So sometimes people may be, I love getting out in the community and networking. Like, sweet, man, let's find a few hours a week where you can do that and be able to do it. The other person may go, I don't want to do that at all. But boy, I like being present once in a while. Okay, how do we factor that into the day? Whatever it is, again, this is creating your dream scenario with owning a business. We want to figure that out, right? So that's your traits, things you need to think about. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchise market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more. Now, that's the easy part. The hard part's the franchisors. So let's look at this from a couple of perspectives. Not every franchise is open to semi-absentee, okay? When they are, and when we talk about this being such a poorly defined term, is things like this. You may have one franchise that their version of semi-absentee is, hey, they need an owner that can spend maybe 8 to 10 hours a week. That's it. Great. The very next franchise could be in the exact same industry is going to say, no, we need like 20 to 25 from you for semi-absentee. Okay. And then there's all the ones in the middle. It's not a right or wrong. It's their brand. It's their plan. They can pick whatever the hell they want. Right. But those are things, again, Google doesn't help us. That's not stuff that we can Google. We're not finding it on some list on some website. That's proprietary stuff. So we've got that. Then we have to look at what's their experience with semi-absentee. Some franchises are really more built and designed semi-absentee. They're always open with you being full-time, but their focus is a little bit more on that semi-absentee. Okay, there's great experience. It's built for that. Then you're going to have some that are like, hey, we have semi-absentee owners, we have full-time owners, we have a pretty even mix. Okay, great. Then you get another franchise that's like, yeah, we can probably do that. Okay, does that mean that's bad? No, it doesn't, right? But it may be wrong for you. It may be right for you. So we have to understand where that comfort is. Do we like a lot of historical data? Okay, we probably need one of the first two. If we're like, no, I can figure this out. I'm a trailblazer. I like a little bit more freedom and autonomy. That's going to be something maybe, hey, we haven't really done it. We don't have a lot of experience with it. We've got a plan for it, just not the experience. Okay. Then we go back to the support that we talked about. So where do you need the support? Where does that come from a franchisor? Maybe if it's a service business, you've got a manager that's out in the field, selling, networking, managing the projects. You got your crews out doing the work. Okay. Well, as a semi-absentee owner, it might be great to know that franchise has a call center that is taking all the inbound calls, so your manager doesn't have to worry about it. You can't answer it. We've got a professional service answering those calls, booking appointments, maybe even booking jobs. That might be super helpful for some people in a franchise like that. Maybe it's more from a staffing perspective, right? Hey, we have these partnerships to be able to help you find the team that you need, right? Whatever that might be, and again, it's personalized for you. But knowing where those franchises really excel in a support mechanism is going to be key for you as well. So we've got to, again, first build out what you want, as always, right? Then we have to understand the behind the scenes of the franchisor. Are they even open to it? What does that look like as far as time? What's their experience with this? Where are their key elements of support? Okay. Again, Google ain't helping you with this, folks. So we've got all of those things. Then we have to think about kind of the last piece of this is the exit strategy. So do you want to, if you have a job, do you eventually want to leave it? Okay. Excuse me. And so what does that look like? At what point, what does it take from a business standpoint to get there? Um, might your ramp up be a little bit slower if you're paying a manager full time? Yeah, but you've got the job, so you've got the income, it's paying all your bills, it's feeding you and your family. Great. So now, but the business is spinning off enough money that you're able to exit your job and come into the business more full time. So what does that look like? So what it shouldn't be is this. Now I'm going to my manager. Hey, Sarah, thank you so much. Man, you've been amazing this last year and a half building the business. It's freaking awesome. You've done a great job, such a great job. I can now quit my crappy corporate gig and jump into here full time. So, by the way, you're fired. Thanks. Like, please don't do that, right? Like, I mean, could you? It's your business. Do whatever the heck you want, but that's not the right thing to do, and it's not the theory behind this. The theory is now the business has grown. Now, how do we expand? So your role typically as an owner won't change that much more than it was a semi-absentee. It's just more time. Because typically what happens is now we're looking to expand. Did we have one location or one territory? Now let's maybe look at a second. Let's look at a third. How do we spread? What if we wanted to add things on top of that, right? Hey, this franchise is already running. I got Sarah over there. She's a killer manager, running that perfect. Um, I think I want a second franchise that I can jump into full time. Still semi-absentee here. I've been doing it for a year and a half. Now I want my baby that I can jump into, right? Again, there's no right or wrong with this, but this is part of as we build that out, what's that exit strategy look like? Is it is it status quo? Is it grow number one? Is it add number two? Right? Whatever that looks like, those are things that you want to think about from that perspective. And again, super long term semi-absentee is kind of that semi-retired aspect. So imagine you're working at your job. I don't know, whatever we're, good old retirement age. We're 65, but 65 is still young, right? So I want to I don't want to completely retire because I'm going to shrivel up and die. So I'm going to go into my boss and I'm going to say, "Hey there, boss. Here's the deal. I want to be semi-retired. I want to keep my job, right? I'm going to spend maybe 15 hours a week coming into the office and doing what I've been doing, but I want you to pay me the exact same money." How long until boss is on the phone with security going, "Will you get this old dude out of the office now?" Right. And oh, by the way, bring him a box because he's going to need it. Right. It's not going to work. But now, as a franchise owner, I want to dial back my time. The number one reason people become a franchise owner is control, and it's time over money, right? In every case, it's money too, but it's time over money. So I want to dial back my time. I want to essentially be, maybe I've gone into full time. I want to be semi-absentee slash semi-retired. I've got everything in place. The business is running, it's humming along. I got people, leadership, all of these things. I'm going to dial that back. Now I'm going to spend 15, 20 hours a week on my business. I may start playing a little more golf. Hey, let's jump into the pickleball thing for the love of God, right? Whatever it is, I'm going to travel a little bit more. I'm going to be active, but I still want the business because I still want the money coming in, right? I want to continue to build the wealth because the ultimate exit strategy is selling that sucker. So the better it's doing, the more I'm going to make at the end. But I really also just want something to do, right? My wife's going to kick me out of the house a few hours a week. So you have that opportunity, that long-term exit strategy to maybe it starts semi-absentee, full-time, back to semi-absentee. Maybe you start full-time, right, for years and dial it back. Again, you have the control over that. You cannot do that with a job. You can as an owner. And then semi-absentee, full-time, whatever, that ultimate exit strategy, folks, is selling that sucker. So all the money you've made all the way through this, at the end, you're going to cash out, right? And so again, you leave that job, right? Paycheck stops. You don't get to sell that to the next person. It's just poof, it's done, it's gone, right? So that's a little bit about, again, semi-absentee. Why would somebody do that? What are some of the key things that we need to understand for you as an owner, your traits, what that role looks like, and then all of the differences and honestly some confusion with what semi-absentee really means because it can vary with every single franchise, what their experience is with it, where their support, the strength in their support lies, and how does that align with you? That's what we need to think about as a semi-absentee owner. So I hope that helps kind of clear that up a little bit and probably just confuses it more. But again, it's an amazing opportunity for a lot of people, and we help people with this all of the time. So if you are at that point where you'd like to learn a little bit more, whether it's semi-absentee or full-time, this is what we're here for, folks. There's never any fee for our service. To just set up that first call, start learning a little bit more. Again, goal number one, get you properly educated on franchise ownership to see if this is a path for you now. Reach out to our team, francoach.net, franchising101podcast.net. Cannot stress this enough. There's a lot of like spammers and pretenders out there. Franchising 101 equals FranCoach. If you're not talking to me or somebody on our FranCoach team, you're getting snowed. Again, no fee for our service. We are here for you. Reach out. We look forward to hearing from you soon and seeing how we can help you create your better tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk with you next week.